All right.
She had to go old school.
My remote wasn't working.
I had one of your lights
But we're
flashing.
here. I don't know.
Dying.
Maybe. I don't know.
Oh, it just died.
It just died.
Episode 21.
21.
Ooh, we're almost to like 6 months into episodes.
We are. It's pretty cool. We've been doing it for a while, and I think we've gotten a little better. I don't know.
Hopefully. I know I really enjoy, like, I schedule a play date with my friend, so I have no complaints
It's
about
lots
that.
of fun. We batch record. If you can't tell, we're wearing the same shirt in all 4 videos in a row.
Yes.
You may have noticed the trend. It's not that we just like to wear the same shirt for 4 months.
Which also could be a possibility.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
Yes, it's much easier with being a mom and homeschooling is that we just take an afternoon and we just batch record.
And get to just chat and have fun.
That's awesome.
So anyway,
Hey,
on to the main point of this.
Yeah, it's not us, just chit-chatting. Okay.
Hey, welcome back to...
Oh, sorry. You started talking before it started recording.
Sorry, we'll try that again.
Do that real quick. Karen was so excited. Okay, wait till.
Hey guys, welcome back to episode number 21. We're going to talk today about how to get your kids excited about reading.
Yes, and the reluctant reader. What to do with a reluctant reader.
Yeah.
You throw them out. Just kidding.
Just throw them out. Do any of you guys have reluctant readers? I'm sure that
They exist.
they're out there. We've all had them in our families. We both. There's not more than 2 of us. We've both had them in our families. And so we're going to talk through some of the things we've done to help.
Yes, and then we were talking right before, I laughed because my reluctant readers are now the ones who never are out of books. And so books are a privilege now in my home.
My 12-year-old was pretty much crying this morning that I couldn't take her to the library to find something to read. But there wasn't time because I had to come do this.
Yeah.
But she was very upset with me. But I have nothing to read. So yes, they get to that
funny.
point where they can't get enough of it. And so yeah, we want to share with you how we did that with our kids.
Yeah, it's trickery. It's magic.
You know, I was at a book club the other day with some friends, and they're not homeschool moms. And I think as homeschoolers, you learn some of these tricks to help your kids be better readers and to love it more. But they hadn't done these things. And so we were talking about it, and they were all saying that their kids did not like reading very much, and they had to kind of force them to read. And I was listening to that, and I just couldn't relate. I didn't understand, and I was like, but my kids won't stop. And they all just sort of looked at me like, huh. Like none of them could relate to me, and it was the funniest thing. It was a funny conversation for me. So I do think that the reading to your kids often and doing these things that we're going to talk about really help and really make a big difference.
They make a huge difference. When I started homeschooling, my oldest had done a year of private school. He did kindergarten, and he couldn't read to save his life. So he didn't like it. It was awkward because he couldn't do it.
Yeah.
And so I got to start right from the beginning with a reluctant reader because it wasn't making sense to him.
Yeah.
And we took that whole first year and we just broke it down and played games. We played phonic games. I think it's called Happy Phonics.
I did that too. That's what I did with my second.
Yes, I've done it with all my kids.
It's so good.
Happy Phonics, and they're based out of Utah, and it's just a cute mom and her homeschool family. Cutest little games of like SH says sh and the sh. Yeah. Anyway, like that's probably confusing over microphone. But just little phonics teams and phonics games, and just got him really into it. And by 4th grade, he read the Odyssey.
Oh, wow. Wow.
And he is my biggest reader.
That's awesome.
Like, he is crazy into books now. And so it was just not putting pressure on him, not saying, oh, you should be here, or teasing or anything like that, which is, I'm a teaser, but I wouldn't ever tease about real stuff. And just kind of going at his own pace. Yeah,
and I think that's a huge thing to remember. My second child, was that way also, where she really struggled. She was probably 7 before she was comfortably reading easy books, just starting out. But now she is a voracious reader, and you can't stop her, basically.
Yeah.
So yeah, it happens. Sometimes it takes longer for some kids, and I've shared before, my oldest was reading at age 3, which is also not typical. So it was kind of both ends of the spectrum for me, and I was a little confused with my second child of what to do.
What did I do wrong?
Right. I don't know what happened with her. She's totally fine, and she turned out okay.
Yeah. So I think the big thing is to relax, because everyone reads on their own time frame. And so we talked before, when I was growing up, the only book I'd really ever read was Ramona and Megan the Klutz, because it had my name in it. And I didn't read until being married a few years. And now I have 5 books that I'm reading right now, and they are all marked up with notes and little tabs. And
I've always got a big old stack of things.
Yes.
I've got a fiction and a nonfiction and a kid book that I'm reading to keep up with what my kids want me to read, and I've always got a big stack too. Yeah. I'm a big reader. I've always been a big reader too, though. It's just I've always loved it. But as I got older and started homeschooling, I kind of changed the type of books that I read. So they're a little
higher
more
quality.
Yeah, better quality, more substance. So that's changed a
So
lot.
what do you do with a kid who can read but doesn't want to, or says reading is stupid?
So we have done a whole episode on read alouds. And
Yes.
I think this is the key for all of it, really. Start reading to your kids as young as they will let you, and just read to them a lot, all the time. All kinds of books. Start with really good, fun picture books, board books, things that they can hold and not be worried about ripping when they're tiny, and just always read to them. Make it a part of your culture. I read to my kids every single day, no matter what. And it's just really a part of our family culture and routine, and let them pick the books they love, and just do it often and regularly, and make it a fun thing, an enjoyable experience. Good books, things they love, things that make you laugh, things that make you cry because they're fun and emotional, whatever it is. Just read aloud.
Yeah, so what I do, part of my trickery, is I start with what I affectionately call garbage blarbage books, because they're not high quality, but they're easy reading and they're fun. So this would be the category of Diary of a Wimpy Kid,
Captain Underpants.
Yeah,
we've done those.
We didn't do those ones. Fairy Diaries is not what it's called.
It's the rainbow fairy magic ones.
Yes.
Those. Oh yes, we've read all.
We read those.
Of those.
So what I do is I hook them. And so it's like they're afraid of food, so I give them chocolate cake, and then I switch it out for carrots, right? So they're like, yeah, I don't really like reading. I'm like, that's fine. And then just casually leave these books out.
Yeah.
They get hooked on my garbage blarbage books. And then once they realize they love reading, and I can
Start sneaking in things a little harder.
Yes, and then those books magically start disappearing.
Oh, where did they go? I don't know. I can't find them.
But like once I get them hooked, then I can get them to try better quality books. And then like I've had them hooked. They thought they didn't like reading, and so once I trick them.
I've done the same. Yeah, we've done that also. And it really does help to let them just find something that they can read comfortably and that's just fun for them and light, and not a lot of pressure or stress as they're reading, like figuring out what the words mean, but just easy to read. And a trick that I have that I love.
Like this, and we're like, this is how we trick our kids.
It is, it's trickery.
Works.
No, this works really well, and I've done this many a time. If there's a book you want your child to read, if you're saying you will love this book, but they're refusing to read it, here's what I do. So open it up and just say, well, let me just read you a couple chapters, and let's just see what you think. So I'll start reading to them, and we'll read a chapter, and we'll read a second chapter usually, and I'll leave it on a good cliffhanger where they just cannot stand that you won't keep reading, and just put it away. And then they're like, well, that's not fair, you have to keep reading it. By that point, they're hooked, and they really want to know what's coming next. And almost every single time, they will steal the book and take it to their room and finish reading it on their own. And then my trick works, and I do it on purpose, but I don't tell my kids this, but I do it all the time. Because my oldest would do this pretty much every time. I'm like, read this book, and he would refuse. That doesn't look fun, Mom. Just read it, please, just read it. No, that doesn't look fun. Okay, then I'll just read it to you. And so I'll start reading, and then he ends up finishing it. Yeah, it works pretty much every time.
That's funny. There have been times where read alouds are really good, and I've had to hide them because they've tried to sneak a read.
Yeah, I mean, if there's read aloud books, I make them wait. But there are certain books that I really just want them to read on their own.
I think it's good too, and I noticed this as I talked to when we did our read aloud recommendations, and we talked about the Green Ember. Yeah. And my one of my kids was like, "This looks so stupid. It's a book about bunnies, and like this is so lame." And we only were able to read book 3 because book 4 is not written. And he's had a hard time transitioning to another read aloud book because he was like, I love The Green Ember. And it was so funny because it was this morning. My daughter said, as we got out the new book to read, he goes, oh, this looks stupid. And she goes, you said the same thing about Green Ember.
What are you reading this time?
We're actually never read aloud Little House on the Prairie.
Oh, so good.
And so I actually didn't want to, I have such a book problem. I'm like, I got to read everything from my own bookcase. And as I was scanning, I've almost read all of them.
Wow, that's
I know.
impressive.
And so I thought, well, only one of my kids has read Little House on the Prairie, and she said, I love it so much, you can use it as the read aloud.
Oh, that's great.
So he angrily sat through read aloud with a blanket over his head. And it was funny because I just read, the chapters were kind of long, like 25 pages. Long. So I just read 12 pages today. And I said, okay, we'll just end there. And like, whatever, you can totally be mad. And he gets hooked every stinking time.
It works. It
and
works.
he leaves books everywhere through the house because he's always reading them. He's funny. He's always thinks he hates every book. So I'm patient and I don't make a big fuss, but they already know, like, that's the culture we've created. When it's read aloud time, you sit there. And you can draw and you can do little things, but you are there for read aloud. So today was with a blanket over his head to show me his defiance. And I thought, I don't care.
He's still listening. You can hear through a blanket.
And every other book I've, like, he's just guarantees he's going to hate it, but he ends up getting completely hooked.
That's funny. We often do read audiobooks in the car too, where we're driving somewhere longer distance and we just pop in a book. And I'll do books like that too that are maybe ones that they wouldn't have necessarily chosen themselves, but good classics that I want them to hear. And they have no choice because they're strapped into their seatbelt listening in the car, and it's the same thing. They always end up, oh, don't turn it off yet, don't turn it off yet, and they're so excited to come back in and hear what happens next.
We also, I like to, and I only do it maybe about once a week or maybe once every other week, I love to buy new picture books, and we do read and feed. We've talked about that, yes, and so that's where we've done some of the silly picture books of circumference, and I can't even remember the last one we've done. The summer I haven't been as good with it because we are out playing in the yard, but definitely through the school year, definitely through the school year I'm doing that, and I'm just getting them hooked on these very fun and lighthearted, like reading is great, and it's all part of my master plan of having them love books.
Picture books are just as fun and engaging as chapter books, especially for your younger ones, but the bigger kids love them too. If it's a well-written picture book, everyone's just going to enjoy it.
Or the artwork is really pretty. Well, there was even one, and it was a cute story, and it was about a caterpillar, not the caterpillar that eats through
not the hungry caterpillar.
Not the hungry caterpillar, but another caterpillar, and I do the worst voices ever. And so it's so funny, my daughter will still quote the caterpillar book. I'm sorry, I don't remember the name of it, because my voice was so terrible with it.
That's funny.
And so it's just like we're creating fun memories with books. And so that was my older daughter, who's almost 15, who will sneak in for these read and feeds, because that sounds like they're little wild animals, read and feed, but they kind of are, but I love them.
That's great. No, but I really think it's about the culture that you create, and also being an example to your kids. We both said that we read a lot, and when your kids are seeing you reading and enjoying the reading time that you get and making it a priority, they're going to see that it's a good thing and that they should as well. And one thing I asked my 12-year-old, she was the one that struggled to learn to read, what really got her excited about reading, and she said it was reading Harry Potter. And she said when she could finally read Harry Potter, she was so excited because everyone was talking about it and everybody had read it, and so she wanted to, and it was hard for her. It took her a really long time to get through the series because they're such big books. But once she got going in them, she said, I was hooked and I just needed more of the story and I couldn't put it down. And so I loved that, and I think that's the case with any really good series. Once they get hooked and they get into the story, they're gonna just love it and wanna keep going.
Yeah, I think a good thing too to remember is if you're trying all these things and your kid's turning 10, 11, 12, and they're maybe still not getting it, that maybe thinking like, do their eyes need to get checked?
Yeah.
Is dyslexia an issue? But maybe looking a little bit more into a reluctant attitude if something is physically off.
Definitely.
And so if the words are blurry or jumbled, it's not going to be fun. And so if you or kind of have that gut feeling that something could be off, then don't feel bad if you go and get him checked. I know we had a friend whose boy wasn't reading, and he turned out he was dyslexic.
Yeah.
And it took a big pressure off of him too, because he didn't know, like, I don't know why I can't read. And when he found out he was dyslexic, it was a huge weight off his shoulders as well. Like, oh, okay, like there's nothing wrong with me. Like everybody else can read and I can't. And that took a huge weight off his own shoulders.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Well, that about sums it up today.
Yes, and we are going to, we had, after we did our last read aloud episode, we had a lot of requests.
Oh, more
for
books.
More books. So I think we'll have to do that in our few upcoming episodes of some of our more favorite books.
Yeah, we could do a whole picture book one. That would be fun.
Oh, that would be fun. But you'll be in for a great treat whenever it is released.
So, guys, let us know your burning questions. What do you want us to talk about next time that we batch record? We love hearing from you and hearing your comments and your questions and the reviews you guys are leaving. We appreciate so much.
They're super sweet, and we love you guys are sharing all our stuff with others, and it's helping people who are terrified and or who want to, moms who have already been homeschooling and feeling like, am I cut out for this? Like you totally are. Right. So you guys got
can
this.
Do it.
Yes. Have a wonderful day, and we'll talk to you next time.
Bye-bye.